Assalamualaikum everyone. Today my teammates and I will be presenting our assessment on tenses in English writing on the topic discoveries of new species. There are three types of tenses in English writing that we will be looking on, and they are present tense, past tense, and future tense. And for each tense it is divided into four main types, which are simple, continuous, perfect, and perfect continuous. First up, we have present tense. The present tense in English writing is used to talk about actions, facts, or situations that are true now, happen regularly, or are connected to the present time. To begin with, we have simple present tense. Simple present tense is a habitual action or general truth. So, like our first example here, we have the grumpy Dorcopy's lower jaw makes it look like it's frowning. So it's basically just a statement because it doesn't really indicate whether it happens in the past or the future. But what we do have to pinpoint and look out here is that the grumpy Dorcopy being the singular subject, therefore the verb make has an S at the end. Next example, we have these new tree frogs live in the more mountainous regions of Madagascar near streams. So how this is different from the first example is that this one, the tree frogs, is a plural subject, therefore no S needed to the verb live. Next, we have present perfect continuous tense, which is a temporary action happening right now or ongoing around the present time, which basically means it's still in progress. Like our example here, researchers are hoping further diving expeditions can reveal more about this fascinating crabby-faced fish. So our hoping here shows an ongoing action or expectation. And meanwhile, in Brazil, scientists are describing a new species of wild cat named the clouded tiger cat. And just like before, our describing reflects a current situation of scientists still describing it. Along with that, we have present perfect tense, which is an action that happened at an unspecified time in the past and is still relevant now. That being said, genetic testing has revealed they had a whole new species on their hands. So here has revealed shows it happened but continued to be used. Next we have they have named each species after a Star Trek character. Have named here refers to it still being called by the name till this day. So both of these examples have a similarity, which is that they both didn't mention a specific time, but there are indicators showing it's been done. Last but not least, we have present perfect continuous tense, which is an action that started in the past and is continuing, or has recently stopped but has a present result. So let's say I have been living here for 6 years. It means I lived here and still living here. That's like a simpler way to understand it. So like right here we have for others it's realizing the species has been hiding in plain sight all along. So here has been indicates the species started hiding in the past and is still hiding. Next we have biologists have been exploring remote regions that may contain undiscovered plants and animals. Same as before, have been indicates the species is still undiscovered in the past and today.
So, hello everyone, I will be your next presenter. Now, let's move on to the past tense. We use the past tense to talk about action and events that are completely finished. This is very important in science writing when we report on discovery that have already been made and documented. So, first, we have the simple past tense. This is the most common tense for reporting complete actions in the past, often at a specific time. The structure is simply subject plus past tense verbs. For example, from our research, the cryptic ant group inhabit the remote forest. Here, inhabited is the simple past verbs, showing us this was their home in the past. Another headline, supersistic insects discovered in the Australia. The discovery is a complete event, so we use the simple past tense discovered. Next, we move to the past continuous tense. We use this to describe an action that was in progress at the specific time in the past. It often used to set the scene for another event. The structure is subject plus was or were plus verb ing. Look at these examples. Scientists were trekking through the rainforest when they found a new species. The trekking was the ongoing action that was happening when the discovery occurred. The researcher was observing bird behavior and noticed something unusual. Again, was observing described the continuous action that provided the context for the discovery. So now we move to the past perfect tense. This one is a bit trickier. We use it to show the order of two past events. It describes the action that happened first. The structure is subject plus had plus past participles. In our example, they realized they had stumbled upon a new species. The stumbling upon the species happened before the realizing. Other than that, scientists found an insect that they had thought had extinct. The thinking it was extinct happened before they found it. The past perfect had thought make this sequence very clear. Finally, we have the past perfect continuous tense. We use this to emphasize the duration of an action that started in the past and they continued up until another point in the past. The structure is subject plus had been plus verb plus ing. For instance, the scientist had been searching for years before she made her breakthrough. This emphasized the long, continuous effort that led to the discovery. Ergo, the team had been exploring the region for decades. This highlights the extended periods of the exploration that precede their findings.
Hello everyone. First of all, I'd like to say thank you to my teammates who have presented the introduction, uh, present tenses as well as the past tenses. Now, for my part, we will shift our focus to from what we have found to what we will find. So I'll be covering the future tenses. So without wasting any time, let's look at the examples. Now moving on with the first one, which is simple future tense. Now from what we've know, future tenses are basically an action that will take place in the future or something that will begin and end in the future. Simple future tenses typically have the word will followed by a base verb. Uh, let's look at the examples first. From the context given, will give us a much better idea of how these animals have evolved and how they have shaped marine ecosystems over millions of years. Now, will followed by a base verb in this context, which is give, shows action about what the scientist will be doing in the future. Now, for the second example, the researchers who discovered this new frog species are hopeful that these new frogs will help bring more conservation efforts into the region so that they and the other species may live long and prosper for years to come. Now, will followed by a base verb, which is help and bring, in the sentence shows an action that will begin in the future. Now moving on with the second part of the future tense, which is future continuous tense. Now future continuous tense also follows the same principle as a basic future tense, which is an action that will happen in the future. But the difference is that for a sentence that has future continuous tenses, it usually starts with the word will. Sorry, it usually starts with the word will be followed by a verb that has ing at the end. Now for the example, researchers will be studying how Acrophylla alta adapts to the cool, wet conditions. Now, will be followed by a base verb that has ing, which is will be studying, shows the study will take place. Now for the second example, entomologists will be monitoring population patterns of Acrophylla alta. Will be plus the verb ing expressed being monitored in the future. Now, along with the third part for future tense, which is future perfect tense. Now, future perfect tense is also an action that will be completed at some point in the future. Sentences that includes future perfect tense have the word will have followed by a past participle. Now let's look at the examples. The first one is by the time the next biodiversity survey is completed, scientists will have collected sufficient data. Will have followed by a past participle which is collected shows the action of collecting data will be completed. Now, for the second example, within 6 months, researchers will have documented the male species. Now, will have followed by a past participle in this context, which is documented. But first, how do we know if it's a past participle? We can see that the base word, which is document, followed by the word ed at the end, which shows that it is a past participle, express the action of documenting will be completed in the future. Now for the last part of future tenses, which is future perfect continuous tense, which also shows an action that will have been happening over a period of time and will still be ongoing. Sentences of this usually includes will have been followed by a present participle, which is the verb that has an ing at the end. Now for the first example, by the time the next deep sea expedition departs, researchers will have been cataloging these previously unknown species for over 2 years. Will have been followed by a present participle that has an ing at the end, in this context is cataloging, shows a duration of an ongoing cataloging. Now for the second example, when the findings appear in scientific journals next spring, conservation biologists will have been monitoring the adaptability of these chemosynthetic ecosystems for more than 6 months. Will have been monitoring, which follows the same principle as the first example, shows that it still happened for a period of time until now. Now for the references, our presentation is not only based on online articles, but we also use books. From the references, which is the first one, this one is actually a book, which is titled Strange New Species, Astonishing Discoveries of Life on Earth. Now, the 3 references after that are from online articles. Now, I think that concludes our presentation for this oral tenses. I hope this presentation not only helps us know about discoveries of new species, but it would also helps us to further understand and identify tenses. That is all from us. Thank you.